Let's Go Race, the channel for virtual motorsport.
Hello and welcome to a new video on my YouTube channel. First an Info to my German-speaking viewers. Dieses Video ist auch mit deutschem Kommentar verfügbar. Der Link zum deutschsprachigen Video findet ihr in der Videobeschreibung. This video is about the Ascher-Racing F28-SC V2 wireless sim racing steering wheel. First, I will show you the steering wheel in detail in this video. I will talk about the different components installed and included in the package, say something about the materials and explain how the steering wheel feels. After that, I will make a conclusion about the steering wheel. And at the end of the video, I will do a test drive with the steering wheel in form of my triple screen onboard videos in my motion simulator. Included in the package is the steering wheel, a sticker kit, mounting screws and washers to bolt the steering wheel to your steering wheel system, and magnets for your magnetic shifter pedals. Let's start with the materials and the technical details of the steering wheel. The steering wheel has a diameter or width of 285 mm and weighs 1100 grams. Because of the small diameter, as it is also used in most formula cars, you have a decisive advantage in terms of reaction time compared to steering wheels with a larger diameter. This is also the reason why formula cars often have steering wheels with a smaller diameter. The two grips have a maximum diameter of 38 mm at the thickest point. Both grips are injected molded rubber grips and are very well made. By using this material, the steering wheel can be easily driven without gloves and with sweaty hands. In addition, the grips have an extremely good grip because of the rubber-like material. The grips are also very well formed and fit perfectly in the hand. The housing of the steering wheel is CNC machined aluminium, is black anodized and a bit shiny. The inscriptions on the back of the steering wheel are laser engraved. The front of the blade of the steering wheel is also made of aluminium and black anodized. The surface of the front blade is brushed. Thus, we have the look of brushed black anodized aluminium on the surface of the front plate. So the front of the steering wheel is completely non-reflective. The Ascher-Racing logo on the front plate is also laser engraved. Now we continue with the push buttons and the funky switch joysticks. The steering wheel has 12 push buttons. The push buttons are all made of plastic and all have different colors and a matte finish. The push buttons can be personalized with the included sticker kit. The buttons have a very tight resistance. The further you press the button, the higher the resistance of the push buttons. At the end of the push button range, we feel a much stronger resistance, which is then also noticeable by the click sound. Then we know we pressed the button completely and the signal has been sent to our system. The resistance of the push buttons is not only very stiff and feels very good, you also don't feel any differences in the resistance of the 12 buttons. Each button feels exactly like all the other push buttons. The click sound when pressing the button is also very good and loud. In summary, the push buttons feel extremely good and crisp and give a very good feedback. Let's continue with the two funky switch joysticks. The two funky switch joysticks are made of aluminium and are matte black anodized. The joysticks have a knurled surface on the outside and also two small rubber rings for an optimal grip on the joysticks. The first function of the joystick is the rotary switch function. You can use the joystick like a rotary switch. The rotary switch function sends two different signals to the system. One signal when we turn clockwise and one signal when we turn anti-clockwise. In one turn we have 30 positions where the rotary switch function engages, and therefore also 30 signals that are sent to the system in one complete turn. The rotary switch function can be rotated infinitely in both directions. The engagement points of the rotary switch function are clearly felt, are very tight, and make a clearly audible and loud clicking noise when engaging in the different engagement points. The joystick can also be used as a push button. The resistance of the push button function is tight and has only one resistance point. The resistance point is crisp and makes a well audible and loud clicking noise. Furthermore, the joystick has a four-way function. The joystick can be pushed to the right, left, up and down. The resistance of the four-way function is also tight and has only one resistance point. The resistance point is crisp and makes a well audible and loud clicking noise. In summary, the two joysticks are very good and helpful function with which you can, for example, navigate in the menu, navigate in the pit menu during the race, or also make settings in the iRacing black box. Four of the buttons have a button guard, the two red buttons and the two yellow buttons. These guards protect the buttons from being pressed accidentally while driving. In addition, the guards highlight these four buttons and also improve the look of the steering wheel, in my opinion. The button guards are quite tight, but not very deep, so you can press the buttons without any problems. However, compared to the buttons without the button guards, you have to press the buttons with the button guards more with the tip of your thumb, instead of the entire surface of your thumb. Of course, this varies from person to person and it depends on the thickness of your thumb. Whether you drive the steering wheel with gloves or without gloves has no impact on the use of the buttons with the button guard. Let's move on to the last point on the front, and a very important function of the steering wheel. An LED is installed in the center of the front plate. This LED is related to the wireless function of the steering wheel, because for the steering wheel you don't need a USB cable. All signals are sent via wireless to your Simucube Cubase or to your wireless receiver, which you can buy directly at Ascher-Racing. I currently use a Simucube 2 Pro and therefore I do not need a wireless receiver, because the Simucube 2 systems already have a wireless function with an integrated wireless receiver. The green LED on the front flashes, for example, when you turn on the steering wheel and when the steering wheel is connected to the Simucube system. However, the LED goes off again afterwards, and it is always switched off while driving. The steering wheel can be switched on and off via the switch at the bottom of the steering wheel on the back. On the back you can also see the wireless antenna which sends the signals. Because the steering wheel does not have a USB cable, the steering wheel requires an internal power source. This is done via a battery. To change the battery, you have to remove the black tinted cover on the back of the steering wheel. To loosen the two screws, you need a 1.5 mm Allen key. The battery supplies the steering wheel with its low energy consumption, which has the steering wheel with strong daily use for 2 to 3 years with energy. So you never have to charge the steering wheel. When the battery is almost empty, you will get a warning from the Simucube TrueDrive software. You will get this warning a few days before the battery is empty, so you still have enough time to buy a new battery and still be able to use the steering wheel for a few more days. To save energy, you should always turn off the steering wheel when you are done. If you forgot to turn it off, the steering wheel will turn off automatically. This happens when you have not moved and not used the steering wheel for an hour. You can check the current battery status in the Simucube TrueDrive software. Now we continue with the two magnetic shifters. The two magnetic shifters are made of aluminium and have an anodized shiny black surface like the housing of the steering wheel. The two pedals of the shifters are also made of aluminium and have a glassband blasted pedal surface finish. The shifters have a short shift range. Both shifters are very tight and have a very high resistance. In addition, the shifters make a nice and loud clicking noise. For the two shifters are also 4 3mm thick magnets included, in addition to the 5mm thick magnets which are attached to the steering wheel. Also included are 4 spacers. The spacers and the different magnets are to adjust the resistance of the shifters. You can see the different variants in the overlay. As you can see, the variant with the 5mm thick magnets is the variant with the highest resistance. Here you have a resistance of 800 grams. The lowest resistance with 260 grams you have if you use the 3mm thick magnets and 2 spacers on each of the 2 shifters. As you can probably also see and hear very well, the difference is clearly noticeable. With this adjustment option, you can adjust the resistance of the shifters as you like. On the back of the steering wheel are still ZEC threads with a bolt circle diameter of 60 mm to screw the steering wheel to a steering wheel system or to a quick release. The matching M5 screws and washers are already included. That's all there is to say about the steering wheel. Now we come to the final conclusion and the cost of the steering wheel. The Ascher-Racing F28-SC V2 has a price of €669 including VAT. The shipping costs are then added to this. The Ascher-Racing F28-SC V2 is not only a steering wheel which looks extremely good, but can also convince with a quality that only a few steering wheels can offer. The steering wheel is extremely stable and also the processing of the materials is outstanding. The 12 buttons of the steering wheel are very well positioned and can all be reached without taking your hands off the steering wheel. The resistance of the buttons is very tight and you can recognize and also hear very well when you have pressed the button correctly. The high resistance makes it impossible to press the buttons accidentally. The two funky switch joysticks are a great addition to the buttons. The two joysticks have a rotary switch function, a push function and a four-way function. The grip of the joysticks is very good due to the rubber rings on the joysticks. And also the resistance of the joysticks is tight. The two joysticks are super easy to use while driving. The steering wheel has a very good diameter of 285 mm and is therefore very suitable for Formula cars, GT cars and also prototypes. The two grips have a rubber-like material, so they have extremely good grip with and without gloves. I especially like the two magnetic shifters. Ascher-Racing offers with their shifters, in my opinion, the shifters with the best shifting feel which I could test so far. In addition, the resistance of the shifters is adjustable. With the wireless function and the extremely long battery life of 2 to 3 years, you have a steering wheel without annoying cable and a steering wheel with which you do not have to worry whether the battery of the steering wheel holds out a 24-hour race. In summary, I'm more than satisfied with the Ascher-Racing F28-SC V2 and I can only recommend it. I hope you enjoyed the video. If you have any further questions, please write them into the comments. Now we come to the promised triple screen onboard video with my motion simulator. Have fun with the video and see you next time.